Thank you for coming along. If you don't know me, my name is Ekant Veer. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Management, Marketing and Entrepreneurship, and my specialty is in marketing. And Susie Morrish asked me to give this seminar on encouraging writing and building a writing culture and how to write when you don't feel like writing in particular, which if you have not felt this sensation, please slip through. If you have not felt this sensation of wanting to write or not wanting to write and being forced to write, then you're very lucky. So most of us will have felt this at some point or another, that we have to write, but we don't really feel like writing. So hopefully we'll go through a few tips, skills, little things here and there on how to build a sense of writing and improve your writing to the point that you don't end up falling behind. Now, it's good to see some of the MCOM students here. I'm sure all of you are well on top of your work. You won't have any issue with this sort of thing, but this might be useful for you as well. What I want to say before we start off is that I'm not going to be talking about specific tools or techniques when it comes to breaking writer's block, free writing and things like that. I might incorporate that into what I'm doing, but there's so many blogs out there, there's so many internet resources out there available on how to do this sort of thing that it's probably not something that I want to cover here. What I want to talk more about is some of the barriers to writing, some of the sort of barriers that we put up ourselves, and the sort of developing a culture of writing and writing effectiveness that you can surround yourself with to the point that you encourage to write, you want to write, you get to write. Not such a thing as, oh God, I've got this assignment coming up, or I've got to write this paper, I have to write. This is more about trying to get the sense where you actually enjoy writing and you're encouraged to do it and you get out and do it. So I want to start by giving some 6 very painful truths, which has been adapted, that I've adapted for this. And then I'd also go on to developing some 10 lessons on building a research culture. And then I really just want to open it up. I want to start with these 6 very simple but painful rules for surviving. And this is adapted from a blog by Gina Barreca. And number 1 is choose your research topic wisely. Whatever you're doing, choose it carefully, choose it wisely. Sometimes you don't get that choice, sometimes you're forced into writing something, but if you have any ownership over this, then choose it wisely. You're going to be living with this for a long, long time, and if you're not passionate about your topic at the start, you're definitely not going to be passionate about it by the end, when things start to get tough, when you really start to work in it. So if you don't care about this right from the start, then maybe it's not something you're that interested in, not going to be able to carry on through. You can't manufacture that sort of passion. Now remember, passion is not about enjoying yourself. When I say the word passion, I'm not saying I'm having fun all the time. Passion is about being able to love something or want something so much, you're willing to go through the hard times in order to complete it. So when you're passionate about something, it means that you're actually going to go through all the struggles because you want to see this happen. So I'm passionate about my marriage. Even though we have hard times, we will work on it. My wife is passionate about chocolate. Doesn't matter what's in the way, she will do her best to get it. Okay? Everybody else's topic is going to look more interesting than yours. Everyone else is doing something cooler. Everyone else is doing something sexy. Everyone else is doing something that you want to be doing. Okay? Accept that. Okay? They are having the same problems, and they're probably looking at your topic going, I wish I was doing research like that. I wish I was able to write like that. Don't compare yourself to other people's topics. You've got your own project, you've got your own topic, focus on that. And so number 2 I want to talk about, write for those who are going to read your topic in 10 years' time, not for those who are writing about it 10 years ago. If you are focused on how things were done in the past, if you're focused on writing for those people who were writing about this 10, 15 years ago, all you're ever going to be doing is repeating what they're writing and in a style that they were writing in. Think about how people want to write in the future, people want to read your project in the future, and think about how you can write in a way that is evolving the field, evolving what the current thinking, not constantly just revisiting what people are doing. Draw in the past, but make sure you reinvent the future as well. Number 3 I've got here, don't rely on others to keep you going. Most of you are adults. Most of you will know that you have goals that you want to attain. Most of you will know that you have targets you want to attain. As adults, my last point here, you know you're doing well and doing a good job when you're not actively being criticized. Don't rely on other people to keep telling you you're doing a good job. You're a wonderful person, because there's not going to be enough people around you to do that. You need to be self-motivated in this. If you aren't self-motivated, then find a way that you can be self-motivated. Find some tools, some tricks that can keep your motivation up. You don't need someone to keep patting you on the back, because that person isn't going to be there all the time. Surrounding yourself with good people can help, but sometimes it's not enough. We'll talk about that in the last part of my seminar. Even the best advisor, co-author, mentor won't have enough time for you. They will love you, they will care about you, they will pastor you, they will mentor you, whatever, but they're not going to be enough. You still need to take ownership of this yourself. It doesn't matter how great they are, you are not the only thing in their life. They will have other things they want to think about, care about, so you need to focus on what you can do, and then present your work to your co-author, your supervisor, whomever it might be, in a way that he or she can then give you some advice and some guidance that can benefit you. Have support networks outside of that. I've tried to encourage as much as I can with my research students peer-to-peer support networks. Rely on one another as much as you do on your supervisor. Not because those people are experts in the field. Your supervisor is going to be the expert in the field. But one another, you can go through the same issues, problems, struggles together. And you can learn off one another. You can broaden your horizons that way. Family, friends, other colleagues are all going to be useful. Sometimes you just need to vent. Sometimes you just need to get it off your chest. Sometimes you need to tell people that you suck right now and you want them to give you a hug. That's fine. Sometimes your supervisor and your co-author are not the best person to do that with. So have other people to do it. That's a rule. So Steph, Hugh, anyone well working with me, don't do that. Your advisor, co-author is not your parent. They never will be. All right? I am very paternalistic, I admit that with my students. I try to protect them, I try to encourage them, I try to stretch them, I try to grow them, but I'm not your parent. Your supervisor, your co-author, your mentor, they're not your parent. So don't rely upon them as your parent. The last two, number 5 and number 6, I think are the most important. Number 5, being perfect will kill your productivity. I see this time and time and time again where people are feeling they're unable to go forward and write the next statement, they write the next section, write the next paper, whatever it might be, because they're so afraid that it's not going to be perfect, therefore they're not able to actually put it down on paper. Either they're not even able to write it, or once they've written something, they're not able to submit it for review. They're not submitting it to anyone else to look at because they're so scared it's not good enough. Okay? Attaining perfection in your eyes may be the thing that's holding you back. I don't tend to have this problem. I'm quite happy to put stuff in that I think is 90% good because I like to see feedback. I like people being critical to me. It happens a lot. But being perfect is something that might hold you back. If you do attain perfection, let's say in your mind this is the best piece of work you have ever written, and it gets rejected, or it gets a low mark, it gets turned away, how does that make you feel as a person? Okay? I'm not saying this is ego defense and say, oh, well, I'm just going to put in a crap piece of work anyway because it's going to get knocked back. Do your best. But if you think you have attained perfection and it's still not good enough, that can really hit you back, more so than if you put in something that you think is good and someone gives you feedback and says, here's how you can improve it. Also remember, most of us here are not surgeons, we're not rocket scientists, we're not even tailors, we're not people who need perfection necessarily in our job. We're working in messy situations. We're working, a lot of us, in social sciences, and in social sciences there is a lot of mess out there. There's a lot of stuff that goes backwards and forwards, and we deal with humans, and humans tend to be pretty weird and odd, and so we'll never get perfection. It'll be impossible to attain perfection in many of these things. So even if you make a slip up here, even if you're not at 100% perfection, that's okay. Because someone will be able to give their viewpoint, their idea, and you'll be able to incorporate that into your thinking. And the last one, which I think is probably the most important, is only writing counts as writing. Okay? Talking about research, thinking about research, having another research lunch, having another Skype meeting, reading another article, reframing your thinking doesn't count. You are not writing when you do that. Only writing counts as writing. Putting your fingers on the keyboard, typing letters on the screen, that's the only thing that counts. So if you're not doing that, you are not writing. You are not working on developing your paper if you're doing all these other things, because I know we do these other things sometimes to develop our thinking and to broaden our horizons, but a lot of the time I know I do these things to kind of put off the writing part. To go, well, what if I read this? What if I include this framing? What if blah, blah. Why don't you just write? Get writing, and then incorporate those other things as and when they turn up. Okay? So those are those 6 things that maybe we all need to hear, myself included more so than anyone. And I want to talk now about 10 little things, little habits that I try to do in order to improve my writing productivity. Number 1, read and read often. You can't add to the current debates, you can't add to the current literature, you can't add to what is currently happening out there if you don't know what is happening out there. A lot of people come and tell me after this and say, well, how do you find time to read? You know, we've got so much going on. I said, I don't find time to read. I find time for everything else. Every second and fourth Friday of every month are days that I set aside to reading. I do nothing else on those Fridays except for read. Pick up the latest journals, I read the abstracts of every article, and if there are articles in there that I think are pertinent to what I'm doing, I read the full paper as well. I do nothing else on those Fridays other than read, because that way I know I'm keeping up with the literature. Everything else, teaching, administration, research, gets slotted into the other 28, 29 days a month. Okay? Number 2, don't be too proud to ask for help. Everyone is protective of your work, their own work. We all want to feel like we are safe. We don't want to bare ourselves and our work, because our work sometimes is a reflection of us and we might see it that way. But the more you protect yourself, the less you share your work to other people, the more likely you're going to be going off in a direction that other people might not agree with. Now, a lot of these I am saying do as I say, not as I do. I have just submitted a piece of work which I've shown to no one before submission. The only person I showed to was Herb, and even then I told him to keep it quiet. I was so scared of this piece of work. I'm so attached to this piece of work, I don't want anybody to know. So if it gets rejected, cool, I'll delete it and never look at it again. If it gets accepted, I'm quite worried, because it means other people are going to look at it. All right? This is a hard one for me, especially. So don't be too proud to ask for people for help. If I'm looking at some Lizrel model, I don't care, let everyone see it. But when there's things that are very personal to us, it becomes hard to share our work. Find someone whom you can trust, find someone whom you can work with, share your work with them. So even though I know I've gone ahead and submitted this piece of work, and I think it's okay, I know it's not as good as it could have been if I had shared it with maybe 5 or 6 people, got their feedback and developed it as a result. In the end, I just showed it to Herb, and he doesn't really count. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay? This is more for the more advanced researchers. Try not to think of every single piece of work as being your only piece of work. If you are only ever working on one piece of work at a time, then all your eggs go in that one basket, and it takes up all your time, to the extent that when you come to do your next piece of work, you are coming in completely cold. All right? If you're a student and you're doing assignments, you're doing assessment, then if you block your time out and says, well, I'm going to work on this project now, I'm going to finish this 5,000 word essay, then I'm going to work on this 2,000 word essay, then I'm going to blah, blah, blah. As soon as one goes 2 or 3 days late, the next one ends up being starting 2 or 3 days late, which means that might go over time, blah, 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 to the end that you are behind on everything, and then it's the ones at the end that end up suffering. Okay? Always try to do a little bit of everything every single day. I work on a rough sort of schedule of 33% of the stuff I write gets accepted to be presented or published or whatever it might be. So 66% of everything I write gets thrown away and is not good enough. All right? Someone will reject me for that. So if I want to publish 1 article a year, that means I need to submit 3 articles a year. If I want to submit 3 articles a year, that means I need to have data written up 3 times a year. So in order to do that, every year I have 3 papers where I'm collecting data. 3 papers I'm theorizing, developing the idea, very early stages. 3 papers where I'm collecting data, and 3 papers where I'm writing up. So every year I'll have at least 9 papers on the go. Those 3 papers I'm writing up, send them out to review, and I'll work in the review process with them. While that's happening, I can advance to the next level. I have a pipeline that I keep pushing forward. If you only ever have 1 paper going, guess what? That might get rejected, you're going to get knocked back, you're going to take another year to try and get that back into review. Assume you will get knocked back somewhere along the lines. Make sure you have plenty of projects going at all stages of the pipeline. If you're working on assignments, and if you know there's a deadline coming up for 1 big assignment, that's great. Put 80% of your effort into that, but try to put at least half an hour a day into your other ones as well, just so you're fresh. Because starting cold with a brand new thing where you have not done any effort and you've only got a week left to go becomes very, very difficult. You're coming in very cold, very hard to get your brain into gear because you've just spent all your time, 20 hours, on a 5,000 word essay, whatever it might be, and then starting a brand new thing, switching over can be difficult. Celebrate others' successes and mourn their other setbacks with honesty and integrity. This one becomes difficult for some people because we kind of have developed into this environment and this culture which is quite competitive. Who's got the highest mark? Who's published the most papers? Who has done the best? Blah, 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 blah. Okay? However, if you want to have a culture where writing is encouraged, where writing is developed, where people and research works together hand in hand, then you have to be honest, have integrity, and encourage one another, celebrate one another. So when someone gets a good publication in our department, I like to celebrate. I like to congratulate them. Not the whole, oh, well done. I could have got that if I tried, but I didn't, which I know I've had a few times. Or, oh, I'm really sorry you got rejected. That really sucks. I didn't get rejected. I got 2 papers accepted. Wow, okay. I'm sorry you weren't good enough. That's not showing integrity. It's not showing honesty. If you want to work with these people, if you want to surround yourself with these people, then surround yourself with people with honesty and integrity, and make sure you do it in a way that shows honesty and integrity. Get over rejection and keep trying. I am bad with rejection. Whoops. I hate being rejected. I hate getting turned down. I take it very, very badly. But I get over it. Usually what happens, I'll get a review back and the editor says, sorry, it's not going to happen. You've been rejected. I read the reviews, I swear at them, I yell at them, I kind of throw things around the room like a little child. And then I wait a couple of days. And then I go back to it and I kind of think, well, they've got a point. You know, all those things they said, they kind of have a point. Number 3 is an idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. Number 1 and 2, they kind of have a point. And I'll develop the paper. I'll reframe it. I'll start again, incorporating their feedback and give it another go. You are going to have a thick skin if you want to stay in this game. You need to be able to get over those rejections very quickly, start reframing it, start writing it again, get back out into the game. Be successful. You can't dwell on the negativity. You can't be scared to write something up and put it out. Surround yourself with people who encourage and empower you and not isolate yourself. This is kind of similar to number 4. You need to surround yourself with people who are going to keep you going. They don't necessarily have to be academics. They don't necessarily have to be people who are going to help you with your actual writing, okay? But there are people who are going to give you the hugs when you need the hugs. They're going to give you the slap across the face when you need the slap across the face, all right? Both people are necessary. Don't isolate yourself. This can be a very lonely existence. This can be something that you end up at your computer typing away, doing nothing, and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. So stopping to have a coffee, stopping to have a chat, spending time with your family, whatever it might be, make sure that you can do that. It'll keep you refreshed and keep you going. Make sure you've got the support network, but also make sure you care for your support network as well. Your support network's going to need your support as well. So don't just take from your support network, give as well. And remember, those people can be at work, those people can be friends, those people can be family, whatever it might be. Stay humble. I think arrogance has its place. I think arrogance has its place in academia in particular. But if you are not humble, then you are going to start killing that research culture. You're going to start having that lack of honesty and integrity that starts to kill a writing and a research culture, because no one wants to talk to you about their work. No one wants to help you. No one will want your help when it comes to doing research. And as a result, you end up building barriers between people. A lot of what we do, even though our co-authors might be overseas, a lot of what we do is still very social. We type at our desk, but our daily existence still is surrounded by people, by students, whatever it might be. Stay humble, be vulnerable, it's okay. Do it with people you trust. If you can't trust them, if you think they're going to use it against you, then obviously don't do it to them. But being vulnerable with your support network, with your friends, is going to be useful. Review other people's work and review for journals if you can. It is really easy to look at someone else's work and find the flaws. It's much harder to do that in your own work because you've been living it, you've been thinking it, you've been spending 20, 30, 40 hours writing this up. So it's difficult to see the flaws in it because you've just been doing it. I usually tell people when I give them my work and say, don't tell me what you like about it. I know what I like about it. I know what's good. That's why I wrote it down. Tell me what you don't like, because I don't know what is not good in this. If I knew, I wouldn't have written it down. I wouldn't have put it in there. Look at other people's work. Review for journals. Find ways where you can look at that and you can see it from a third-party perspective. You can find out how they have written things down, not just learn from them with regards to the content, but more the style that they communicate. If you can find flaws and mistakes in the way that they've communicated, you can incorporate that into your own work. You can kind of say, look, that doesn't make sense at all, but you know what? I do this every time I write. So find ways you can communicate, you can review for others, and you can fix the problems that you have yourself. It becomes much easier when you start reviewing other people's works to see their own problems in your own work. Meet often. Meet with people. Don't isolate yourself. meet with people often, make sure you catch up. One of my favorite things I did when I was a new and emerging researcher was I spent 1 hour to an hour and a half every week meeting with people. All we would do would catch up with from completely different departments. We didn't have any relationship with our research at all. I think 1 or 2 of us tried to work together on projects, but really we were just a complete disparate group of people who came together as friends, had a coffee, and talked about life, talked about research, talked about the struggles we are having with our job, bitched about our colleagues if you needed to, you know? But essentially these were people who would meet regularly without fail. If you did not turn up on a regular basis, you were asked to leave that group. It was about breaking, stopping, breathing, meeting, okay? Chat about work. Separation doesn't need to be physical, it can be emotional as well. So you might physically be present at work every day, but you have no connection to work. You have no empathy with work. You have no sort of emotional bond with work at all. That's going to hinder you as well, because if you start shutting yourself off emotionally from work, it's very difficult for you to perform as a human being and be part of that social group that you need at work and within a research culture. The final point I want to make is the most important, and I think it's have fun. I feel blessed every day I wake up because I get to come to a place and I get to talk for a living and I get to think for a living. That's awesome. Okay? I don't need to stand in the rain and dig holes and then fill them up and then dig them again and fill them up. Okay? I get to come and think. I get to come and write. I get to come and advance what we currently know in the world. Now, for me, that's fun. But if I stop having fun, then I'm not going to be passionate about my work. I'm not going to be willing to go through the hard times. I'm not going to be passionate about writing my thoughts down. I'm going to end up hating and resenting what I do every day. I'm going to end up struggling to get to work every day. And when you start feeling that, you know that you've lost something. There has to be a reason you're having fun. So the way I do this is I tend to, rather than say, how can I make my work fun, I kind of take something that's fun and apply it to work. So one example, I like to take photos. This is a photo I took a couple of days ago. I think this was last week or the week before out in Porters Valley. Nice photo, fine, great, whatever. How I got about to taking this photo is part of what I do at work as well. I planned this photo. I picked the night, I picked the conditions, I checked all the data available to make sure that this was all going to fit, and it seems like it did fit at the time. Great. I looked at all the research with regards to how I was going to construct this photo. This is actually made up of 12 different photos, all stitched together in a program called Huggin. So I put this all together. Now I actually need to go and do it as well. I need to go collect the data. I need to go out into the mountains. I've got to drive an hour and a half out from my house late one night, take 12 photos, make sure the exposure's right, blah, blah. Actually doing this stuff. Come back, put it all together, and then present it to someone. For me, photography is hard because I need to present it to someone and someone's going to go and say, yeah, it's all right. No, it's not very good, whatever it might be. I am bearing myself to the world and showing them what I've put all this effort into, but it's a good analogy for me for work. In that this for me is fun. Even when people say I don't like this, I still go out and take more photos. So how do I apply that to my work? How do I find a way that I feel still passionate about taking photos that I can use that with my day-to-day life at work? I know I will keep taking photos because I have fun while I'm doing it. Even if it doesn't come off as I expected, I still have fun. I'm spending time with myself. I'm enjoying what I do. Another thing I like to do when I'm relaxing, I like to play computer games. I am a gamer. I like to do that sort of thing. It's very weird. I'm in my mid-30s now and I'm still playing computer games. When will I grow up? Who knows? But I kind of look at research sometimes the same. Writing is the same way. How do I complete this level? I need to get this introduction done. How do I do that? I treat it like a computer game. Whatever is fun to you, use the same sort of theory, same sort of application to your writing and see if you can conquer it that way. Surround yourself in an environment that's going to help you. Surround yourself in an environment that's going to be conducive to helping you feel fun. I know my colleagues on either side of me probably hate me for this, but I like music and I turn my music up loud. I have a standing desk, and if you walk past my desk now with the big glass windows, you might see me having a little dance while I'm typing. I like music and I like to stand there, type, have a little boogie, whatever it might be, and people come around and say, oh, you're having a bit of fun. I'm like, yes, now I feel weird, okay? But in my private space, that's how I enjoy writing. I enjoy standing there, writing away, putting it into an environment where I feel comfortable and happy. If I'm comfortable and happy and having fun, writing becomes less of a chore. It becomes something I look forward to. If all you ever do all day is spend time on Facebook, then you'll end up going to be distracted, you end up going to have to be separated, and you're not going to get the work done, okay? Taking micro breaks, say, right, if I can get 50 minutes of writing done, I can spend 10 minutes on Facebook, might be a reward system you can use. But finding what makes Facebook attractive to you, what makes that social element interesting to you, and incorporating that into your work might be worthwhile. So the last thing I want to say is next month, when you look back at today, and you're going to wish you started today. Next month, you'll wish you started today. What's the excuse you're going to tell yourself? What was that amazing excuse that made you think, actually, today's not the day I'm going to write? It's going to be too difficult because. A lot of us feel busy. A lot of us feel like, oh, well, next month things will be easier because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. Guess what? Your calendar's going to fill up next month as well, all right? It's not going to get easier. I wish it was. But this month looks pretty clear a month ago. Now it's looking really busy. I am not good at self-discipline. I'll admit that. I need to schedule time in to do this sort of stuff. So every Thursday, I write without fail. Every Wednesday, I try to write if I'm not too busy. Every second Friday is a reading day. Every second Friday in between that is an administration day. That's how I do my time. I schedule it in because that's who I am. That's what works for me. If you are someone who's much freer, go for it. Do it. So, shut up and write. I posted my blog. This is an open letter I wrote to myself about a year or two ago, where it was basically me telling me to shut up and write. And I've brought some copies of that if you want it, but that's like the only academic blog post I think I've written that has actually gone semi-viral sort of thing. But more than anything, you know the excuses you tell yourself, you know what hinders you from actually writing, and those excuses need to be put aside. Because all those excuses are just excuses. They might explain what you're doing, but they're not justifying what you're doing.